Woe girls disappeared after a secret party, but what really happened to them that night? The story begins with a teenage girl named Veronica enjoying a peaceful day swimming with her grandmother, Isabel. The two share a very close bond, and Isabel cares deeply for her granddaughter. During their time together, Isabel gives Veronica a meaningful gift, a pair of green earrings identical to her own, symbolizing their special connection. Later that day, Veronica prepares to attend what she claims is a local festival. Before leaving, she promises Isabel that they will meet again for lunch the following day. Back at home, Veronica spends time with her father, Antonio, and her younger sister, Lupe. As night falls, another girl named Martha arrives. Although both girls told their families they were heading to the festival, they are actually planning to attend a secret party instead. To get there, they accept a ride from Veronica's friend Jonas. The three drive away together, unaware that a roadside camera is capturing their time they are ever seen alive. And this is two graves. The next day, Isabel waits for Veronica, expecting her for their promised lunch. But Veronica never arrives. Growing concerned, Isabel tries calling her, but there is no answer. She then calls Antonio at the restaurant where he works. He assumes Veronica is still asleep, since he left early that morning. Isabel, still uneasy, contacts Lupe and asks her to check Veronica's room. When Lupe looks, Veronica is nowhere to be found. Days pass, and it becomes clear that both Veronica and Martha never returned home after that night. The police are notified and a large search begins, but there are no results. During the search, Antonio notices Martha's father, Rafael, among the volunteers. Rafael is not just any parent, he is a powerful cartel boss. A police officer named Miguel introduces himself to Antonio. He is leading the investigation into the disappearance of the two girls. Miguel subtly suggests that if Antonio knows anything about Rafael, he should speak up, but Antonio chooses to stay silent. Miguel's team discovers that the last person to see Veronica and Martha alive is Jonas. He is brought in for questioning. Jonas explains that he only gave them a ride and dropped them off at their destination before leaving. The police investigate the location where he claimed to have dropped them off, and they find Veronica's jacket there. Both the jacket and the surrounding area contain blood, later confirmed to belong to Veronica and Martha. It strongly suggests that this is where they were attacked. Then one night, a group of fishermen makes a grim discovery. While casting their nets, they accidentally pull up Martha's body from the sea. With that, Martha is no longer considered missing. She is declared dead, but Veronica is still nowhere to be found. For Isabel and the rest of the family, the uncertainty becomes unbearable. At Martha's funeral, Rafael and his family are seen overwhelmed with grief, struggling to process the tragic way she was found. 2 years later, the case resurfaces on a television program. A presenter named Carlos talks about the unresolved mystery surrounding Martha's death and Veronica's disappearance. Even after all this time, no answers have been found. At home, Isabel and Lupe watch the broadcast. The news confirms what Isabel has been dreading. The search for Veronica has officially been called off after 2 years with no progress. Jonas, the last person to see Veronica and Martha alive, has already been released due to a lack of evidence. With no new leads or witnesses, the investigation is being closed. Isabel refuses to accept it. Deep down, she still believes there is a chance Veronica could be alive, even if that chance is small. Antonio, on the other hand, is trying to move forward. He does not want to stay trapped in grief, especially when he still has Lupe to care for. Unwilling to sit still, Isabel goes to the police station to confront Miguel. She questions his competence and believes he has failed to find Veronica. Miguel insists that he has done everything he could over the past 2 years, but the case has led nowhere. He reminds her that this is not the only case the police are handling. Isabel brings up Jonas, convinced that releasing him was a mistake. Miguel explains that there is no evidence linking Jonas to what happened to either girl. Despite their disagreement, both of them are frustrated by the same thing: the complete lack of answers. Still searching for something to hold on to, Isabel begins to suspect Martha's father, Rafael. As a powerful cartel boss, she believes he could have enemies who targeted Martha, and that Veronica may have become a victim as well. Miguel dismisses the idea, saying there is no evidence to support it. Isabel starts to wonder if Miguel is simply afraid of Rafael, but she makes it clear that she is not. Determined to find out for herself, Isabel goes to Rafael's house. The scale of his home reflects his status, grand and imposing. She confronts him, hoping he knows something about Veronica's fate. Rafael tells her that he has already done everything in his power to uncover the truth, but like everyone else, he has found nothing. The next day, Isabel is at home, quietly working on something unusual. She pieces together a message using cut-out letters from magazines. While she does this, a teenage boy named Beltran arrives for his private piano lesson. As he plays, Isabel continues assembling the message in silence. After the lesson ends, an older man named Caffarino stops by. He is a friend of Isabel's and offers to help fix her withered garden. That night, Isabel meets Antonio and Lupe at Antonio's restaurant. Lupe has just received her school report, and her results are quite good. Even so, it is clear that Isabel has always been closer to Veronica. On the way home, Isabel stops at a red light and notices something unexpected. She sees Jonas now working as a food delivery driver for an app called Eat Now. The following day, while teaching piano, Isabel orders food through the same app. Around that time, Miguel arrives to see her. He suspects that Isabel is behind the anonymous letters that have been sent, though she denies it. Miguel is not convinced. He believes the letters were made by someone older, and Isabel fits that profile. He understands that she has lost faith in the police, but he wants her to know that he has genuinely done everything he can to find Veronica. That night, Isabel begins ordering large amounts of food through the Eat Now app. From the growing pile of packages, it is clear she is not doing this out of hunger. She is waiting for one specific person to show up, Jonas, but each time a delivery arrives, it is someone else. When another courier comes, Isabel asks if he knows Jonas. The courier confirms that he does, but he does not have his contact information. Still, he shares something useful. Jonas has another job at the fish market, working there at night. Just as described, Jonas is at the market, helping fishermen with their work. From a distance, Isabel watches him carefully. When his shift ends, she follows him. Instead of going home, Jonas heads to a boat docked at the harbor, the place where he now lives. Isabel quietly boards the boat, moving as carefully as she can. In her hand, she carries a knife. But before she can do anything, Jonas catches her. He quickly overpowers her and takes the knife away. Once he realizes who she is, Veronica's grandmother, he does not harm her. Instead, he offers her a warm drink, understanding that she came here for answers. Isabel wants to know what really happened to Veronica and Martha, since Jonas was the last person to see them alive. She also shares her suspicion that Rafael may be involved. Jonas warns her to stay away from Rafael, explaining just how dangerous he is. 2 years earlier, Rafael had kidnapped Jonas and interrogated him. He left Jonas badly injured, with broken bones, and made sure no one would ever hire him again. That is why Jonas ended up here, working odd jobs and living on a boat. But since he was not actually involved, Rafael eventually let him live, even if it meant a life of hardship. Jonas then recalls what happened that night. Veronica had asked him for a ride. He recognized her, but he had never seen Martha before. Veronica mentioned they were going to meet someone, but she never said who. During the drive, there was very little conversation. However, one detail stands out in his memory. At some point during the ride, Veronica put on a pair of green earrings. Isabel immediately recognizes them as the ones she had given her. What surprises her is what Jonas says next. Veronica did not actually like the earrings and thought they were ugly. Still, she wore them because they came from someone important to her. When they reached their destination, Jonas dropped them off. That moment became the last time he ever saw them. The next morning, Isabel wakes up later than usual. It is also the day Beltran comes for his piano lesson. Before they begin, Beltran notices Isabel's earrings and mentions that they remind him of Veronica. That small comment changes everything. In that instant, Isabel realizes that Beltran may have been the last person to see Veronica and Martha. Jonas had said Veronica only put on the green earrings while she was in his car, and Isabel had given them to her on the very same day she disappeared. Isabel refuses to sit still any longer. She prepares a cup of coffee for Beltran, quietly mixing in several pills before handing it to him. As he begins playing the piano, the effects of the drugs slowly take hold, and before long, he collapses. Acting quickly, Isabel ties him to the piano. Time passes, and when Beltran regains consciousness, he is disoriented. Isabel presses him for answers, asking where he saw Veronica wearing the green earrings. Beltran denies everything, but Isabel is certain he met Veronica after Jonas dropped her off. Beltran continues to resist, underestimating her. Isabel then brings out a hammer, making it clear she is not afraid to hurt him. She strikes his knee repeatedly until he finally starts to break.
Es el que me vas a ayudar. Isabel, habla, habla. Te voy a romper todos los dedos.
Even then, he tries to lie. He claims that Veronica showed him the earrings at the festival, but he makes a critical mistake. He says Veronica liked the earrings, which contradicts what Jonas had said earlier. Realizing the lie, Isabel escalates. She stabs his thigh with a pair of scissors.
A Verónica le parecían horribles.
Beltran still refuses to cooperate and demands to be taken to the police, but Isabel has lost all faith in them. She believes this is something she must handle herself. Eventually, Beltran gives in. He admits that he took Veronica and Martha to a party. It was not an ordinary party, but one attended by celebrities and athletes. His role was to bring young women there, and Veronica was being paid to attend. According to him, she had done this before to earn money. The parties involved drugs and reckless behavior. For Isabel, this is impossible to accept. In her eyes, Veronica has always been perfect. But Beltran continues, saying that Veronica left the party that night with a TV presenter named Carlos. That is the breaking point. Overcome with anger as Beltran continues to speak badly about Veronica. Afterwards, she cleans the house, carefully removing any trace of blood. Around the same time, her friend Caffarino arrives, planning to work on her garden. Isabel quickly moves Beltran's body into the bathroom, trying to hide what she has done. What she does not realize is that Beltran is still alive. Caffarino enters through the back of the house, forcing Isabel to step outside and meet him. He offers to fix her garden, but she insists he leave, saying she has something important to take care of. Before going, Caffarino invites her to the opera in the coming days. Wanting him gone as soon as possible, Isabel agrees. Back inside the bathroom, Beltran manages to call the emergency number. But before he can explain his situation, his strength gives out and he dies. Isabel discovers this and quickly ends the call. Now Beltran is truly dead. To avoid the smell, Isabel moves his body into the meat freezer. With the freezer now occupied, she has to deal with the meat she had stored there, so it does not go bad. Later, while watching television, Isabel sees Carlos hosting a program. She remembers what Beltran said, that Carlos was at the same party Veronica and Martha attended. At that moment, Isabel realizes who her next target is. But there is a problem. Carlos is a public figure, and getting close to him will not be easy. Around the same time, Isabel is called to the police station. Lupe has been arrested for causing trouble while drunk in the streets. Isabel brings her home and tries to understand what is going on. Lupe finally opens up. The loss of Veronica has been weighing on her more than anyone realized. The report card she proudly showed before turns out to be fake. She has been skipping classes and missing exams, and the pressure has been building. Deep down, she feels like she can never measure up to Veronica. She even believes that Isabel loves Veronica more than her. Isabel denies it, but the truth is hard to ignore. The house is filled with photos of Veronica, while there is not a single picture of Lupe. Later that afternoon, Miguel arrives at Isabel's house. He is following up on Beltran, who has been reported missing since the morning. Isabel was the last person to see him, so Miguel needs to ask a few questions. Isabel claims that Beltran did come by, but left in a hurry. Miguel mentions that Beltran made a call to the emergency number somewhere nearby, but never said anything. The GPS data is not precise, so it does not directly point to Isabel's house. It is still possible the call was made somewhere else. As Miguel looks around, he notices something unusual. Isabel has been cooking a large amount of meat. She explains that her freezer is broken, so she has to cook everything before it spoils. The next day, Isabel waits at a building for Rafael. When he arrives, she takes him somewhere more private. She begins by asking how well he really knew Martha. Rafael admits that he was often too busy with work and did not spend enough time with his daughter, something he now deeply regrets. Then Isabel asks a more direct question. If Rafael knew who killed Martha, what would he do? That is when Rafael realizes Isabel might know something. Isabel reveals that after being dropped off by Jonas, Martha and Veronica went to a party attended by well-known figures. Rafael demands a name, but Isabel only has one. She tells him about Carlos. At the same time, she asks Rafael for help in dealing with Beltran's body. A few days later, as Carlos prepares to leave for a vacation in Thailand, Rafael and his men abduct him. Meanwhile, Caffarino returns to Isabel's house to take her to the opera, reminding her of the plan they had made. Isabel had only agreed before to get him to leave, and now she has no intention of going. Her refusal leaves Caffarino visibly hurt. At the same time, Antonio calls Isabel and asks her to come over. He has just been contacted by Miguel. In an effort to find new leads on Beltran's disappearance, Miguel examined Beltran's laptop. What he found is disturbing. There are several explicit photos of Veronica and Martha at a party. Even worse, Miguel has already shared those photos with the media. Elsewhere, Miguel pays a visit to Rafael at his home. He shows him the photos of Veronica and Martha taken at a party on the night they disappeared. The problem is, there is no clear way to trace who organized the event. It is an exclusive gathering, and Miguel believes Rafael might have connections that could help. But Raphael has little interest in cooperating. He sees the police as incompetent, especially when there are visible clues in the photos, like the luxury cars that could be tracked. On top of that, he is clearly displeased with Miguel for leaking the girl's private photos to the press. At the same time, Isabel is on the road when she hears a radio broadcast. The police are now prioritizing the search for Beltran, since he may hold key information about the party Veronica and Martha attended. The emergency call Beltran made is also released, even though it contains no spoken words. Still, there is a detail that stands out. A faint whistling sound can be heard in the background. Isabel immediately recognizes it. The whistling belongs to Caffarino, and it lines up with the time he visited her house. Not long after, Raphael contacts her and asks to meet. He tells her that he has already spoken to Carlos, and Carlos is not the one responsible for what happened. According to him, there was a third girl at the party, a young woman of Arab descent with a birthmark on her forehead, who was seen leaving the party with Veronica and Martha. Raphael wants Isabel to find out who this girl is. Following that lead, Isabel goes to Veronica's school. As she steps out of her car, she runs into Caffarino. He invites her for coffee, but she refuses. He has already heard the emergency call on the radio and recognizes his own whistling. He uses that knowledge to pressure her, hinting that he could go to the police. But Isabel is not intimidated. Inside the school, Isabel is in familiar territory. She used to work there before retiring, so she knows the staff well. She claims she wants to check Veronica's academic records, supposedly to prove to Lupe that Veronica was not as perfect as she seemed. In reality, she is searching for the girl described by Raphael. Her search leads her to a name, Jamila. When she asks the principal about her, she learns that Jamila no longer attends the school. Her family moved away some time ago. Later, when Isabel returns home, Miguel is already waiting for her. Just as he threatened, Caffarino has reported what he heard. He told the police that the whistling in Beltran's emergency call happened at Isabel's house. Miguel cannot ignore that information. He begins searching the house. Inside, he finds traces of blood on the floor, leading toward the kitchen. Isabel explains it away, saying it is pig's blood that leaked while she was clearing out her broken freezer. She even tells him the freezer is now empty. When Miguel checks, he finds it full, but not with anything suspicious. Raphael had filled it with food. Aside from the blood on the floor, Miguel finds nothing else. Still, he is not convinced. He plans to test the blood to confirm exactly what it is. That night, Isabel meets with Raphael again. He wants to know the identity of the Arab girl Isabel recently discovered. But Isabel holds back. She agrees to tell him only if she is allowed to speak with Carlos first. Raphael accepts and takes her to the place where Carlos is being held. Carlos is tied up, badly injured from Raphael's brutal interrogation. He is desperate to be freed. Under pressure, Carlos admits that he had been involved with Veronica and Martha, but he insists he had nothing to do with their deaths. According to him, no one was forced to attend the party. He saw both girls leave with the Arab girl that night. Even so, Raphael shows no mercy. The fact that Carlos was involved with Martha is enough for him. In a chilling act of revenge, after that, Isabel finally gives him the name Jamila. Even though Jamila is no longer there, Raphael makes it clear that it will not be a problem for him to track her down. At the same time, Isabel receives a call from Antonio. Lupe has been rushed to the hospital. The doctor explains that she tried to end her life by taking a large amount of medication, but fortunately, she was saved in time. When Isabel arrives, Antonio is already there. Lupe is no longer in danger, but the emotional damage is clear. Antonio explains that reporters somehow got Lupe's number and questioned her about Veronica, labeling her in a way that deeply hurt her. Overwhelmed and broken, Lupe only wants to see Veronica again, even knowing it may be impossible. Then unexpectedly, Antonio reveals something shocking. Veronica might still be alive. The story then takes us back to the night everything happened. Veronica and Martha arrive at the party together. Veronica is already familiar with this kind of environment, but for Martha, it is her first time, and she feels uneasy. Veronica reassures her, promising that they are just there to have fun and that Martha does not have to do anything she is not comfortable with. They are welcomed by Beltran, and soon after, they change into more revealing outfits. The night quickly fills with drinking and substance use, and the atmosphere becomes increasingly reckless. As the effects begin to take hold, Martha starts to feel dizzy and sits down. At that moment, Carlos notices her and turns his attention toward her. Jamila is already at the party and tries to take Martha outside for some fresh air, but Carlos uses that moment as an opportunity, taking advantage of Martha while she is in a weakened state. Not long after, Veronica and Jamila find Martha, but they are too late. Panicked, Veronica rushes home and wakes Antonio. She tells him she has made a terrible mistake and needs his help. She leads him into the forest, where Martha's lifeless body lies on the ground. Veronica believes it was an accident and wants to report it to the police, but Antonio sees it differently. Even if it was an accident, he knows Rafael will not care. In his eyes, there would only be revenge, and that means Veronica would be next. So instead of going to the authorities, Antonio makes a decision that will change everything. They will cover it up. Antonio comes up with a plan. First, he leaves Veronica's jacket behind to make it seem like she disappeared along with Martha. Then, using a boat, they take Martha's body out to sea and dispose of it. But they do not return home right away. Antonio arranges for a friend to help smuggle Veronica out of the country, sending her to Morocco for a while. Veronica does not want to go, but she has no choice. Back in the present, Isabel is furious when she learns the truth Antonio has been hiding. Antonio explains that he has been planning to move to Brazil, where he can start a new life with Lupe and Veronica. Everything was under control until the investigation reopened because of Beltran's death. Isabel is hurt by the idea, realizing that Antonio intends to leave her behind. But Antonio turns the blame back on her. When he was 15, Isabel abandoned him to live freely on the streets. She was not there for his wedding. She was not there when his wife was diagnosed with cancer or when she passed away. She was not there when Lupe and Veronica were born. To him, Isabel has always been selfish, doing whatever she wanted without thinking about anyone else. She was never a responsible mother, and even as a grandmother, she showed clear favoritism. When Antonio revealed that Veronica might still be alive, he did it for Lupe, not for Isabel. Hearing all of this, Isabel has no response. She knows it is true. She then asks where Veronica is now. Antonio admits he does not know. After 6 months in Morocco, Veronica disappeared again without a trace. Still, he believes she is alive because she calls him every Friday. Isabel tells him about Jamila, and Antonio is already aware of her. The problem is, Rafael is now hunting Jamila. If he finds her, she could reveal the truth about Martha's death, that it was the result of Veronica's actions. At that moment, Rafael calls Isabel. He has already located Jamila, who is now working at a diving club in Almeria. He shares the address and says he is heading there that very afternoon. Isabel quickly forms a plan. She asks Antonio to inform Miguel that Rafael is the one who kidnapped Carlos. The goal is to slow Rafael down, giving Isabel a chance to reach Jamila first. Later that day, just as Rafael is about to leave for Almeria, Miguel intercepts him and brings him in for questioning. Rafael remains silent, waiting for his lawyer to arrive. His lawyer manages to secure his release, since there is no solid evidence against him. But Rafael has no intention of stopping. The moment he is free, he heads straight for Almeria, determined to get there as quickly as possible. In another place, Isabel arrives in Almeria. She goes straight to a diving club, where she finds Jamila. After Jamila finishes her shift, Isabel follows her all the way home, staying out of sight. Jamila is the only person who knows what really happened to Martha, and that means Isabel has come here with a clear purpose. At the house, Isabel introduces herself, pretending to be a friend of Jamila's parents. Jamila lets her in and even offers her a cup of coffee. When Isabel asks for milk, Jamila heads to the kitchen, leaving her alone for a moment. That is when Isabel quietly slips something into Jamila's drink. When Jamila returns, she begins to question why Isabel is really there. Isabel tries to keep up the lie, saying that Jamila's parents always spoke highly of her, but Jamila quickly realizes it is not true. She has not been in contact with her parents for a long time. She asks Isabel to leave. At that point, Isabel drops the act and asks directly about what happened at the party 2 years ago. Jamila refuses to answer, but as she stands, the drug begins to take effect, and she collapses. Now Isabel has the chance to finish what she came here to do, but she cannot bring herself to go through with it. What happened to Beltran was driven by anger. Without that same emotion, she hesitates, and in that hesitation, something changes. On the wall, she notices photos of Jamila with Veronica. At that exact moment, Veronica herself appears. Both of them are equally shocked to see each other. Isabel quickly explains the situation. Rafael is already on his way, hunting Jamila. If the truth comes out, Veronica will also be in danger. At the same time, Jamila regains consciousness. She receives a call that someone has been looking for her at the shop. It can only mean one thing: Rafael is getting close. Time passes and Rafael arrives at Jamila's house. But it is too late. They are gone. Still, he notices that the drinks are still warm, a sign that they have only just left. Elsewhere, Isabel brings Veronica and Jamila to a friend's place, asking for a temporary place to hide. That night, she asks Veronica how she ended up here. Veronica explains that she stayed in touch with Jamila online, and together they decided to remain in Spain. The guilt over Martha's death still weighs heavily on her. Isabel wonders why Martha even went to that party in the first place. Veronica explains that it was never about money, but about freedom. Everything began after her mother passed away. Veronica had to step into that role, especially for Lupe. Meanwhile, Isabel had always been distant, only appearing when it suited her. Veronica sees her as selfish. Even so, she still loves her. The next morning, Jamila wakes up and realizes Isabel is gone. At that moment, Isabel is meeting Rafael at a bar. Rafael tells her he already went to Jamila's house, but found nothing. Isabel tries to reason with him, asking if this has all gone too far. But Rafael refuses to back down. He admits that after 2 years, he had started to move on from Martha's death. But now, with all these new clues, he cannot ignore it anymore. He regrets not being closer to his daughter, and the only thing he believes he can do now is seek revenge. Seeing that she cannot change his mind, Isabel leaves. Then she calls Antonio. Isabel calls Antonio and tells him that Veronica needs to be sent back to Morocco. But Antonio gives a shocking response. He says that Veronica is already dead. Right away, Isabel senses something is wrong. It turns out Miguel is with Antonio at that very moment. The DNA test from the blood found in Isabel's house has come back, and it matches Beltran. That makes Isabel the main suspect in his murder. Even so, Miguel still has no idea that Veronica is alive. With no time to lose, Isabel returns to where Veronica and Jamila are hiding. She decides to separate them to reduce the risk. Isabel will stay behind, while Jamila is moved to another location. After that, Isabel goes to meet Rafael at his hotel. She tells him that she knows where Jamila is. On the way, she finally reveals the truth about what really happened that night. Martha had been furious after what Carlos did to her. She wanted to go to the police, but Veronica believed no one would take them seriously and that they would only be judged and labeled. She tried to calm Martha down. In that moment, Martha noticed a broken bottle on the ground. Overwhelmed, she threatened to do something irreversible. Veronica tried to stop her, but in the struggle, Martha accidentally cut Veronica's neck, drawing blood. That was when everything spiraled out of control. In anger, Veronica pushed Martha, meant to kill her. But Martha fell and hit her head on a concrete seat. That was how Martha died. Rafael struggles to accept it, but the story makes sense. Even if it was an accident, it changes nothing for him. In his mind, Veronica is still responsible, and he will not hesitate to kill her. He also plans to go after Antonio for disposing of Martha's body. Isabel realizes there is no way to reason with him. She cannot allow Veronica or Antonio to die. At the same time, she knows she cannot go back, since Miguel is already waiting for her because of Beltran's murder. So she makes one final decision. To protect them, Isabel throws herself off a cliff into the sea, taking Rafael with her. With Rafael gone, Veronica and Antonio are safe. And with that, the story comes to an end. So the moral of the story is never lie, never go to shady parties, and never mess with a determined grandma.